Hey guys, and welcome to LITTLEBLACKBOOK91. I guess this is the first one I've done all year. I'll sit down with the infamous, the wonderful, the lovely Dominique from Ready to Love. This is going to be an insightful conversation, guys. So make sure you guys behave yourselves in the chat. Keep it cute, keep it classy. And we'll also enjoy the festivities of trying to understand what happened in the connection between Dominique and Bello. But like I always do, I like to find out a little bit more about the person so we can actually understand how we got here in the first place. But before I do, let me introduce my wonderful guest. Dominique, how are we doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. I see how the charmers work and smile. I see how they got caught up in this game. I see it now. I see you. Thank you for coming on here, and it's always an honor when we get to have people on here and just be able to share their story and be able to have a conversation in terms of their experience on Ready to Love. But before we get into any of those things, I like to do what we call an icebreaker. We need to understand, we need to get a little warmth, before we get into any kind of conversation about you and what you experience. Is that okay?
Sure.
Fantastic. So I've got a few questions, nothing crazy. Okay, nothing crazy. So some quick fire questions. Summer or winter? Which one would you choose?
Winter.
Okay. All right, cool. That's a good one. iPhone, Android?
iPhone.
Black clothing, white clothing? Which one would you choose?
Black. Black.
Black, okay. Okay. If you had a plane ticket to anywhere in the world, an empty plane ticket, you could choose anywhere, any destination, where would you go?
How long I get to stay?
As long as you want. As long as you need.
I probably would go, because I live in the cold, I would probably go somewhere tropical. I don't know, Saint-Tropez maybe.
Oh, okay, Saint-Tropez. I like it. Okay. Chicken or beef?
Chicken.
Cereal or milk in the bowl first?
What? What did you say?
Cereal. Would you put cereal or milk in the bowl first?
Cereal.
Which one goes first? Okay,
cereal.
So you like to drown your cereal, basically.
I guess. I don't like cereal either, so.
Oh.
I have a game that is the same thing as this, called This or That. So I'm very familiar.
Okay. Well, listen, that's my questions done. I just wanted a little light. Just a little light. Something a little bit light.
I feel very comfortable here. I have a game called This or That. So
you see me and I see you.
I have random questions that I ask people, but it's actually a board game, and we do random questions. It's called This or That. So yes, a little bit about me. I'm sorry.
Are you selling it as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you send me the link so I can put it in my description so you can promote and buy it.
Okay, absolutely.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, right. I appreciate it.
No worries. All right, icebreaker done. So let's open up the floor to some discussion. My first question is, Dominique, very open-ended. Who is Dominique, and what is Dominique's story?
Wow. That's open. That's a big question. I'm exactly what you see. I'm always going to be myself, unapologetically. I am very confident in who I am. I love myself. So I am a fulfilled individual. I am a mother. I am, I'm a scholar. I'm a businesswoman. I'm fun. I'm very loyal, and I think that's about everything. That sums me up. Like, I am a nurturer. By nature, I'm very nurturing. I have a nurturing spirit. That's basically who I am.
I love that. So you mentioned obviously about loyal, being a nurturer. And those are very, I guess, distinct qualities, right? People, especially men, look for those things in women. But I want to know why you mentioned the word loyalty and nurturer. What has happened in your life? What have you witnessed? How have you behaved that you believe that you are loyal and a nurturer for you?
I'm a mom first, and everybody who comes around me, I treat them as such. I'm gonna make sure everybody's okay. I used to do it, make sure everybody was okay before I made sure I was okay. I'm taking care of everybody around me. I'm asking, what can I do for you? What do you need to be done? That's just who I am. I'm very loyal to all my family, all my friends. If you meet me, you could be a stranger, and it didn't take me to be loyal. I'm loyal to who I am first.
Mm,
So therefore I can be loyal to others. I'm loyal to who I am. So I know what that feels like to give it back.
mm. I love that. You mentioned something key there. You said you are someone that almost puts people first, right? As
Right.
well, in that particular space, and I think that's quite interesting. So I always find that when people put other people first, as you said, that we struggle also to be able to prioritize ourselves as well. Um, but before I kind of go down that lane, I want to ask a question. For you then, having put other people first, what was your upbringing like? What was it like for you growing up in the household that you grew up in? What was
I
your
grew up with,
experience?
I have two older brothers and a younger sister. My parents are still married to this day. They love each other dearly. My father's a pastor. But when I say my father's a pastor, I don't mean that he was running a strict program on us. He let us be exactly who we were, exactly who we are, who we're going to be. That was his calling. He didn't say, you have to act this way because I'm this. He let us be exactly who we were going to be. So we followed whatever road that we wanted to follow. He did instill values and wisdom within us, but we were always allowed to make our own choices. So I'm the third child, the first girl. Like I said, I got two older brothers. We're all very close, very tight. We just were raised up together, and we still are
Mm,
all best friends to this day.
I love that. So you're third born, but first daughter,
Girl,
right?
yes, first daughter. My
Wow,
sister is younger.
powerful. So I wonder, being obviously the first daughter, what was your role with how did you what did yes, what was your role within the family as a first daughter for you? Where did you fit in to the family?
I was the princess at first, then I became the mother. It was like my mom worked, so my brothers would like baby me and spoil me. But when my sister came along, I became an adult fast. I was a teen mother,
Mm,
so my adult my childhood turned to adulthood really quickly just because I was a teen mother. I also took in my sister. She moved with us. And I got married pretty early to my kid's father. And he was in the NBA, and we moved. I moved to Miami when I was, I think, 17.
oh wow, wow, that is young. That's very very young. That's a lot of responsibility quite early.
Yeah, I graduated high school and I moved straight to Miami. I did homeschool for probably a year and a half, and I graduated a year before I was supposed to. And then I took me and my two daughters. We went to Miami to live with their father.
Congrats, because that's
Mm,
never easy. The achievements you've made in that period of time, wonderful.
yeah.
Okay,
Then I went back. Then I went to college, and I finished.
yeah,
So I
well
graduated from U of
done.
M. And I was always taking care of them, which was easy for me because I had help, and I had resources that allowed me to be able to be a mother to them, be a wife to my husband, and also go to school.
Mm,
So, I
wow.
mean, I wouldn't recommend it to people, but for me, that was my life, and my life was
Mm,
easier due to the resources that I was given. So it was that was my life. It wasn't a struggle. It was beautiful. And the things that weren't beautiful, we made them beautiful.
I
Period.
love that. So growing up then, what was
Mhm.
your dream? Because of course, at 17, you're now a teen mom, like you said, etc. You're going through everything you're going through. But before we get to that stage, then what was your childhood dream? What did you always envisage that you'd become and be as a young child?
I wanted to be exactly what I am. I wanted to be a wife, and I can't even make this up. When I was little, I told my mom I wanted to have three daughters. I wanted to have twins, and I wanted to have another daughter. And I actually
Mm.
did that. So I wanted to
Oh
be a
wow.
wife. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be all those things. I wanted to go to school as well. I wanted to be a hairdresser. And I actually, right before you called, I'm doing hair, my daughters
Mm.
to be exact. So, I don't know, like though everything that I wanted to do, I envisioned it. I kind of manifested the life that I actually lived. I should have added some more things into that, but for the most part, I manifested my life. Like the way that I would live my life, I manifested that, and it actually really happened. Um, Believe it or not, it really did. My mom always laughs and said, "Ain't God funny?" Because if you don't
Mm-hmm.
ask people, when you don't ask for something, you won't receive it. And I asked for, I said I wanted to live in this house the house that I end up living in. I said I wanted to live in a neighborhood that I actually end up living in. Um, and I got the things that I asked for. So I am a very, 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 very blessed woman.
Mm,
It was
I
and
appreciate
always has been.
it. Amen. Um, with that being said, it's quite interesting then, because obviously my mum was a pastor for a short while, so I understand a little bit about being in the spotlight, because it creates a spotlight, right? Once your parent is a pastor, you know, the community has their eyes on you, people have their eyes on you, people have an idea of who you're supposed to be. And I too didn't necessarily was controlled. My mum never forced me to do anything. I just found myself naturally inclined to wanting to be in a particular way or behave a particular way, because my mum became a pastor way later. So I wasn't a kid when she became a pastor. So it's a bit different
Neither
for
was
me.
I. My dad did not become a pastor
Uh,
till I think I was 13. I mean, so I wasn't like a bit. I've always been in church though. Like we just call us drug babies. We got drugged to church
mm,
every Sunday. We were always in church on Sundays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays. We was always at church. But my dad did not become a pastor until I think I was 13.
mm. So what
So
changed for
no,
you in
I
your life?
never felt it. Nothing changed for me. Honestly, I've always loved God. I still love God. My dad
Mm,
being a pastor did not change my life at all. That wasn't my directory. That was his, not mine. It was his calling, not my calling. But I love God tremendously. But the way I live my life, I live it in a respectful way that God will honor. So I'm not worried about that anyway. And never
I
have
love
been.
that.
Never happened. Never feel any hangups because I'm a pastor's daughter. Never felt that I would hear the jokes that people would tell, but that I'm very confident, always have been in the woman that I am right now, the woman that you see before you. I've always been this person. I don't even really worry myself with what other people really think about me. Never have.
That being said, growing up then in a household, then as your dad does transition into being a pastor, how does that change your life, or how does that change the family dynamic for you from what you observed? How did that change? How did that change things for you in that space?
I mean, nothing really changed for me in that space. Nothing. I mean, I'm being so honest. If you ask my siblings, they would say the same thing. Nothing changed in our household besides we always were having to have Bible study. We always had to go to church. So nothing changed when my father became a pastor. And when I put strong emphasis on, he did not say, this is what we got to do. You got to get up every Sunday. If we wanted to miss, we could miss church. He wasn't like making us do things that we didn't want to do. It was very much so a choice, and we chose to go. I chose always to go. He didn't say you got to do something. He just was like, "Hey, are you going?" It was up to us. He did not make that decision. My mom did not make that a decision for us. We went when we wanted, and if we didn't want to go, we didn't have to go. It wasn't anything that we were like life. It wasn't life changing for us because it was part of our life. It was every day. So nothing has to change when it's already incorporated in who you are, in what you do, how you walk. Life happens and nobody's perfect but God. So my dad never expected any of us to be perfect. I wasn't for sure. Like I said, I came home and I was pregnant at 15 with two babies. And my dad is the person who took me to the doctor. He never judged me one day ever because he not only practiced what he preached, he said he's not a judger. So he did not condemn me for that. He did not make me feel shame because of it. Um, he just asked me at that moment, he wasn't a pastor, he was my dad. He's like, what are you going to
Mm,
do? What are we going to do? How do we move forward? And at that moment, he was already talking to who became later on my husband.
mm.
So simple movements, nothing, never was ever pressures were put on me to become something um, that they sought out for me to become. Never.
I love the fact that you had that support, because a lot of people don't necessarily have that support of a parent, especially fathers, of course, because you know a father's very protective of their daughters, you know, and so sometimes you know that can be a very tricky relationship to kind of navigate, you know, going forward, having a situation like pregnancy, right? So I love the fact that you were able to have that kind of support and have that kind of backing as well. It's important to have a family unit that can support you in those very, very precarious moments. So I love the fact that you had that support going forward. With that being said, then, who would you say you are close to? Mum, dad? Which one would you say you're most closest to?
It depends. on a day.
Mm.
Most days, my dad had a stroke a few years back, which changed the
So,
relationship of all of us with my father. He just was very different. Not in a bad way, actually, a more
yeah.
talkative way. My dad was a very quiet man always, but after he had a stroke, he was very different. He talked a lot more. I wouldn't say I was closer to either one of them. It just depends on the moment, maybe. Like life happens. Some days I'm on my mama's side, some days I'm on my dad's side. I don't know. Like it just depends on who's getting on my nerve, or I don't know. Like I think asking me that as an adult is kind of funny. I probably would have had a
Mm,
different answer growing up. I don't know. I can't even remember because my parents are a team. So
mm,
they ran a household like a team. So it was no pulling the wolves under one and not the other. They agree once they agreed on something, they both went with it. So it was not playing one against the other. We could never do that. They always chose each other. We were part of their we were part of the equation, but they chose each other first. They chose God first, then they chose each other, then they chose us. We were not. My mom was never running around that house like what my kids say. It would just be like whatever my husband say, and my dad would say whatever his wife said. So it was no way for us to even swindle in between either one of them and pick who's better because they were actually a team. I think that was the pleasure of growing up in of parents who were married and
mhm,
raising all their kids in the same household. They broke generational curses. They neither one of them had fathers that were present in their life, so they ran their course how they wanted it running, and they raised us accordingly.
mm. Nice. In between that, you said a very
Yeah,
powerful thing. You said if you were younger, you might have said something a bit more different in terms of who you're close to.
yeah,
So
it just
I guess
depends.
okay. So when you were younger, who would you say you were more close? Because I think as a younger,
Probably
you
my
choose
probably
one,
my
right?
mother. Probably my
Okay.
mother because my mom was more talkative. Um, Probably my mom. I don't know. Like, but no shade to my dad. Like, probably my mom. My dad was at work, or
Mm,
my mom. Both of my parents worked actually. So, um, I don't know. I don't know. I probably still would pick neither. They are the
mm.
same. They the same person. So it's hard for me to pick. That's like
That's
redundant
fair.
question to me. I think my sister would have a different answer.
Mm,
Just because of her proximity and her closeness to my mother. Um, they are not as close as me and my mother are. So my sister will probably pick my dad, hands down. I wouldn't just pick my father. That wouldn't make sense for my life or my story
mm,
either because my parents raised me as a team. I raised my sister, so it's different.
mm. That's intriguing. And so okay then. So then for you, okay, let's say you were closer to him, little bit closer at points with the mum when you were younger. Describe to us what your relationship like was with your mum growing up. What was that like for you growing up as a young woman growing up with your mum? What was the relationship like for you?
Um, Me and my mom were like best friends. We were always together. I was the only. She had two boys before me, so it was a house full of men. And when she got me, I was like her perfect doll. She dressed me up. We had tea together. We talked. My mom let me talk to her about anything. There was nothing off limits that I couldn't talk to my mom about. I never felt any shame when I had conversations with my mom. My mom was very cool, still is to this day. I could say anything, she would laugh because her life was different, very different from mine. My mom only been with one man her whole life. So I would tell her things about me, and she would just, she would find delight in some of the things that I had to say. A lot of my life story, she is amused by because, my
Mhm,
life is different from hers. Even though I did become married and I was in a marriage, in a relationship for 21 years. Me deciding to leave, my mother was not on board with that because but then she didn't condemn me for it either. She just said that I was brave and it's something that she would have never done. And she thought, and my husband was a good man. She's like, he's a good man. Why would we leave? Like, and she's from an old school, a different generation than what we're from. When things are just not what we want them to be, sometimes we leave. And I felt like I had ran my course and my mom was not on board with that, but she respected it. She had an opinion about it, but she always is going to choose me anyway. So she chose me, and whatever my decision was, she was happy with it. So my mom is a cool lady. She's a cool woman. So
mhm.
I don't know. My relationship with my mom is great. Me and my mom have a great relationship, same as me and my father.
What would you say is the best advice your mum ever gave you? What would you say that you still use to this day? Mum gave you advice as you're growing up. What's the best advice she's given that you keep to this day?
Don't be scared of anybody but God. She's like, you don't got to be scared of me. Why would you be scared to say something to me? Some people are scared of their parents. I got to do what my parents say. I got to do this. My mom has never felt like that. She would always say, you ain't be yourself. Be yourself, but respectfully. My mama never that, and that was great advice because it allowed me to be exactly who I always was. I never was hiding anything. I never had to hide any any kind of any personality traits that I had. I was always being upfront with that. I'm still to this day, are I'm always upfront about who I am. And my mom taught me to be. She's like, never run away from who you are. If that's who you are, be that. Don't change your position for nobody. And my mom is exactly that. In her relationship with my father, like I said, they've been married for 51 years. People can't even be in a relationship for 5 days, let alone 51 years. My mom is always herself. She say whatever she want to say, and she don't care. Me and her are very different, but very similar too. Some of her best qualities I probably took on too, and her worst ones I chose not because I watched her. So that's just life, period. But my mom's cool, a cool lady, and her advice has always been very good. Always.
So being a first daughter, having a father, having two boys ahead of you
Mm-hmm.
as well, right? So, fathers get their sons and they're like, got my boys, but then when they get their daughter, it's like, they tend to spoil, right? So,
Yeah.
what would you say was like uh, what was it like growing up with your father? What was the relationship like with you? Because again, you're the first daughter, you're the first one who is different to the brothers, right? You got brothers, but now you're the first one. So what was
I
that like
mean,
for
me
you?
and my brothers are not too far apart either.
Okay.
So, um, my dad loves me. I mean, I can call him right now. He'll come get me. I could be across the world and he'll get in the car and drive to me. He's always gonna show up for me, and it didn't take a lot of money to do so. He will always give me whatever if he has it, he'll give it to me. If he is capable of helping me in whatever capacity, he would do that. Since he had the stroke, it's different. So his mind is not as sharp as it used to be, so I had struggles with that. I was relearning another person. And that was
Mm,
hard for me. And I had to commend my mother, like, wow, this is your husband, and it's somebody you with every day. I just, I don't see my dad every day. So, and I was struggling. Me and my sister were both struggling. My brothers did not struggle. They liked it. They didn't care. But for me and my sister, who was used to a father being very hands on, doing everything. I could call my dad just to do just about anything. Even when I had a husband, my husband would call my father. When my dad had a stroke, it changed how his priorities of how he did things and how he moved. So our relationship had to rebuild a course. It was like getting to know a new person because he wasn't the same to me. And that happened, I think, right before pandemic.
mm. How did that? You said obviously about it changed the relationship. Um,
I
how did that?
grieved. I
Mm,
grieved, and we can move on from it. I grieved the old father that I knew, and I had to relearn a new one, and that was just that. Did not change my love for him. It just I had to readjust to who he actually is now after stroke,
mm.
which was different.
Which I can understand. I can really identify with. My audience already knows. I talk about it a lot. My mom has schizophrenia. As a
Hmm.
Christian woman, as a pastor, you get schizophrenia, and she had it obviously from very young. So it definitely changed the relationship I had. But I had it; she had it when I was younger, so it definitely changed that. There was a lot of distance that came into the relationship between myself and my mom. I would never lie to anybody and tell them that I was okay because I wasn't. I thought I
Yeah.
was okay. I was a young boy and I'm firstborn, so it's like I was okay. But when I look at the relationships that I built with people in terms of the women that I dated, there's a lot of hidden pain that I couldn't actually address. I didn't even
Mm.
know I was even feeling some of those hidden pains until
Yeah.
those relationships exposed that.
Hmm.
That I had issues with vulnerability. I had issues with being able to articulate sometimes even my thoughts as to what I'm
Yeah.
feeling. I tend to keep to myself. Um, I wanted to love. I wanted to show love, and I felt like I did. But I also, when if I got hurt or if something hurt me or something frustrated me, I found that difficult to be able to articulate in its fullest because I felt like the person won't necessarily hear me or get what I'm really coming from. Um, and so yeah, it's something I'm still working through in terms of the relationship with myself, my mom, and my dad. That is one of the hardest things in terms of relationship with my mom, knowing that she still goes through some of those difficulties. And whilst I may have forgiven, that doesn't mean I've forgotten. And sometimes that creates some of the distance that I have with my mom. You know what I mean? That I don't have the same relationship as I did when I was a young kid. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, when you said about the stroke, I really did
I understand schizophrenia. I have a child that has schizophrenia, so I'm very familiar. I don't want to talk about it, but I do. I have I experience in that area, 100%.
That's fair.
Mhm.
So, talking about life, obviously, like I said, you had a kid at 15, you've grown up, you went into college, you've pursued, and you've achieved and accomplished as well.
Yeah,
So, you also got married, all right? You don't have to tell her who the person is. I'm aware that you don't want to talk about, let's say, who the person is. That's fine. But you were married for 20, what's it, 21 years almost at that point in
I
time,
was
right?
I was in a relationship for 21 years. We were married for almost 11.
11. Fantastic. So, you were married for quite a long time, relationship for a very long time. What went wrong for you in this relationship? Because it sounded like you had a really good relationship and then it changed. So what changed? Let me say this: what changed for you in that relationship as to
Well, nothing
why the
really
separation?
changed at all.
Oh,
We just we outgrew each other. We ran our course. And if I was the woman who I am today, then and I put a lot of responsibility on him for something he wasn't responsible for. So let's just be fair. We divorced. I think I was 36, and I wasn't the same person that I am today. I had to go find who I was. And I was putting responsibility on him to make me happy, and that wasn't his responsibility. That's something that comes from within. He just adds to all the things, the beautiful flowers and things that I already feel. But if I didn't have that feeling of for myself, then how can he be responsible for that? If I was this woman today, my
mm,
marriage would have went very different. If I was this woman 30, I don't even know how long ago it's been, but
we're not
in
doing this shit. Don't worry.
2016 or 2017, I think I got divorced in 2017. It was final. If I was this lady that sits before all of you, then my decision would have been very different. Um,
Mm,
it took me to become divorced to actually
mm,
find out who I was. And in that period, I found me quickly.
mm,
I found myself within a year of being divorced. I had found my happy space, but my rooms got very dark. Um, my friendship circles had got very small. Um, the people who I could trust it looked very different to me, because when everybody feels like they're a part of something big and beautiful, and sometimes people go where the money reside, and that was okay for me, because they didn't know what I had got in a divorce settlement. I was left with people who I knew really loved me, and they weren't
mm,
around for what they could benefit from me. And that actually was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I got to see who people really were. When people show you who they are, believe them. I was married very young. um, and my life became very focused on my family and not me. So
mm,
I was very selfless, and then I made a selfish decision, which was I chose me. And as I said, I was loyal to a lot of people, and I wasn't being loyal to myself. When I started to become loyal to who I was, my decisions about who I would honor and who I would hold accountable for my happiness and all those things changed, and it did. So that was we just ran our course at that time. I think we were together very young. He was older than me, obviously, and we just, we ran our course at that moment. um was our relationship perfect? Absolutely not. If it was, then
mm,
it was a lot of good things that was happening in that relationship that I didn't see, because when you're in something, sometimes you're not. I learned how to be grateful. I'm grateful for the fork without the food. I'm grateful. I know how to value the money that I have. I never even worked prior to that. I didn't know what anything even cost, because I didn't have to know. He was my vision, and I was his ears. So when I divorced, I lost my sight, and I had to regain that. And I had to learn who I was and what things were to me, for me. And I did, and I adjusted, and that was just what it was. So I mean, it was unfortunate. My heart wasn't broken though, but other people's heart were broken in that situation, and it wasn't mine. It was my children, probably, and my ex-husband, as well, because my decision was strictly based off of how I felt in that moment. I couldn't see, or didn't even, I don't know, I didn't even think about how everybody else would feel. I chose me because I felt like if I didn't choose me, then I felt like I would have died.
is that the first time you ever chosen yourself first?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody else before then, I was, like I said, I had children. I was baby. I was, had two
Mm,
babies at 15 and a half years old. Like, I'm taking care of my sister. I am now, helping my mother. I'm doing all these things, but and I had my kids for myself, of course. So that wasn't, I'm never like,
mm,
that was the best thing that I ever did for my life, was having children. And the
mm,
children that I got, I couldn't even pick better kids. I love my kids. So, and my kids are all grown and all doing very well for themselves. So I'm very happy about that. So I did a good job. And being a young mother, I did the best that I could. And my best,
right.
was actually, they would go tooth and nail with anybody and say it was the best that anybody could have ever done. And I said, oh, it was just my best. I could have done the better. But they don't feel that way.
Mm. I think obviously you've done an amazing job, right? And being a mother is never an easy job, right? It's never something that we should ever look down upon because it takes work, right?
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued, and I'm very much curious because the
Okay.
statement of choosing yourself first. Because when you originally mentioned it in the beginning, when you said about putting other people first, my first thought was, where does that come from? Because for there is selfless and there's self-sacrificing. The two are different. Self to be selfless is to also understand that in order to love people, I need to love me first and put me
Mhm.
first. To be self-sacrificing is to say I put other people first, irrespective of whether I'm going to get what I need or not. And the
Well,
two are
I'm
very
not like that
different.
anymore. That used to be me.
Yes.
So when I said it to you, I used in
Mm,
past tense frames. Like, I've always chosen people
agree.
first, always at that point, and then I chose to be different. I start to be loyal to me, and when I'm loyal
Mm,
to me, then I start thinking about what makes me happy first, and I choose myself. And my kids are grown, so people are like, "Oh, you have no." I choose me. I'm always going to choose me, because in this moment I don't have a partner. If I had a partner, it would be, oh, we're choosing each other, all of that. I choose me. So anything that is not benefiting me or being good for my soul, that is emotionally diminishing who I am, I choose to exit.
mm, agree. And when I ask a question, I don't mean it in a sense of prodding. It's more in a case of I want to know where it comes from because that doesn't come in a vacuum. So before you healed it, where did that come from? Because of course you're the
Me and my
first daughter.
childhood, just like it was four of us. So if we didn't have a whole bunch, I would share. I would be like, you can have mine. I would always be like nurturing to my siblings. So, and they would go, no, you have it. And I would always offer mine because I'm full. If I had enough, then you can have what's the rest. I'm not selfish. So me not being selfish, that's where it came from. Not having a whole bunch. My parents were actually working parents and did the best that they could do. They sent us to private schools when they could. They worked and they couldn't afford all the things that they were doing, but they tried. So I was grateful to that. I watched my parents try their hardest to make sure that we had the things that they really couldn't afford to give us. And I was just that. My mother came from a pretty well-to-do family, but they felt like once you have a husband, they're not helping you no more. So, she had pride and she wasn't going to go asking people to do this for her. So she worked harder. And I watched that. So, of course, I would be the same way my mother would be. And if she's going out here working hard for things and somebody over here needs something, I'm going to make sure that they have it. So that's just natural for me. It wasn't nothing like someone was forcing me to do it. It's just what felt natural to me to be able to assist other people. I've always done that. And I learned firsthand from my siblings. It was survival mode. And it was like, hey, I'm already good. I'm surviving. So let me help you. I don't need all of this. If I can give something to you, or if I can go without, my dad wasn't spoiling me. My mom was giving me all those things. So it would be like, no, I don't need that, mom. I'm fine. Like give
Mm,
real that, because real wants that. And I was okay with that. That's just always been who I was since my mom will tell you since birth. Like, I'm cool. I've always been that way. So I've never been greedy. I've never been selfish. Those are just things that's born with inside of me. And it's a still in my life right now. Like, I'm gonna do for other people. I have no problem with that. If there's a will for me to be able to help somebody and assist, I'm gonna do it. If I could give somebody like something or make things special for other people, I will. And now, no, I'm not doing it without making sure that I'm okay first. But I'm still able to extend my hand to those who are in need, or anybody I can help. A partner, a kid, a friend, whoever.
I definitely believe that. I actually do really believe that you're a selfless person. Um, and as you said, you've healed that perspective. I wanted to know where it was. That's the reason why I asked. Was I wanted to know where it was coming from because, and I think you've kind of had it. You kind of alluded to it. And the reason why I'm saying is because when you told a story about background, and I do this too, and this is something my therapist called me out for, is that the story is perfect. When you first started, the story is perfect. And when the story is perfect, and then someone ends up saying that they put other people first, almost to their detriment at the beginning of their life, I naturally, my inclination goes, so what happened? You know what I mean? And so that's why I was asking the question because it's like it felt incongruent in that moment that you're witnessing something, but I don't know what you're witnessing, but the behaviors are telling us that you're witnessing something, but we're not sure what that is. Because when you told the story, it was like everything was perfect. But when you just told us the story just now, there were some imperfections, not necessarily not from you, but what you're witnessing and what you're going through. And even being a first daughter who is becoming we call it parentificated. So you end up becoming a mum to your younger sister. That's a lot of burden, a lot of responsibility, well before any child's time. And I want to know how that affected you because I'm
But it
sure you love
wasn't a
your sister.
burden. It wasn't a
Huh?
burden for me. It wasn't a burden for me. It was a joy. I love my sister. We're best friends. So anytime I could help my parents were getting older at the time. They were still working, and my life had changed. So I'm living a different life that was great. So my sister was never a burden to me. My ex-husband loved my sister, and she was actually a help to me. She was very comforting for me when he would travel. She would be there with me, and me and my sister are 8 years apart. So she was more of a help. My sister has like always been like a grown person, so it was never a burden for me to take her on. It was more so like a relief to my parents for me to actually assist them instead of her having to go to latchkey, or they were going to work, and I was like, well, I'm not working, and I got my two girls, and Jasmine was help to me. So it was never a burden. It was never stressful to have my sister. It was more of a benefit because my life wasn't stressful at that time at all. I had no stressors in my life. Like, my life was great. I was living a great life. And why wouldn't I introduce my sister to that? I had room for her. I had space. My heart was big enough. So was my ex's. He loved her. He calls her all the time, my first daughter. Like, but we already had kids, but she, just because she was older than the twins, obviously that's what it was. But she was never a burden for me. And then we sent her off to school. She went to college. She graduated. So it was more of a success story, never a burden. Never a burden. At the time when I took my sister, my husband was in the NBA. I was living a great life. Financially, it was no burden for me, or emotionally. Actually, she was more of a support for me than anything.
Okay. I hear that.
Facts.
I hear that.
Still to this day. Facts. Yeah, no, not a
Okay.
burden.
Okay. So with that, of course, like I said, you've learned some key things in terms of the growth. You said after the divorce, you learned and you grew, and you understood about uh, now putting yourself first. I would love to know a bit more about that mindset. What happened after the divorce for you that then put you in a space where you now realize you have to choose you first and put you first?
I had, before the divorce, I had already picked myself to be choosing myself. In that space, I did not choose to be around people. Um,
Mm,
a lot of people just didn't show up anymore. And when
mm,
you're going through something, it's okay. Like, I didn't feel bad about that. I had a conversation with God, and He was like, "Hey, sometimes it get dark, and before the storm comes, it was a storm, and I didn't want to bring anybody in my storm. I need to get through it, and I need to see clear, and I didn't need any advice from fake friends or any of that. I had my family. My family is very deep rooted. We got roots. The trees got to grow, it ain't just branches breaking off a tree. It's deep, really rooted. And my family is all very close. My parents were there. My brothers was there. My sister was there. A few friends, not really many, but a few. People who I call friends, who were just there because they actually loved me and not loved the things that I did for them. And that was just fitting for me. So sometimes you need to be by yourself. You don't need 1,000 friends. You don't need 1,000. Hey, I want to go out with you, or I want to do this. And I was by myself, and that was the best thing that I could do because I got to know me. I had been surrounded by many people for forever. As long as you got a whole bunch of money and this and that, and you buying people things and taking their trips, and like people are there for different reasons. And I'm not saying that I never do anything with a cause to get anything back, but when I needed that quiet time, I needed that
Mm,
space to say, hey, I'm choosing me. I ain't choosing 15 friends. I'm choosing me. I needed it to be for my kids because my kids had been broken. The divorce hurt my children. So they needed time to, I needed time to give them more life. I needed to put life inside of them because they felt like the life that they were living had been taken from them. So I'm saying I was never selfish to my children in that moment. I was selfish for making the decision, but it was for me and my kids. I asked them to forgive me. We had real conversations because I have real conversations with my daughters. The twins were, I think, at the time 18, and my youngest was 13, maybe, or 12, 13 or 12. And we talked about it. And I asked them to forgive me. And they said, for what? We want you to be happy regardless. So we put on a front for everybody else. And I'm thinking, oh, I stayed longer than I should have. But honestly, I'm not sad about staying longer. I feel like, and in a space where I had to just choose myself, and I did that. But my relationship with my kids always has been a 10 out of a 10. It just grew. And I talked to them. I had real conversations about what was actually happening. They told me how they felt. So I'm not perfect. We don't live no life of a perfect line, but my daughters were the only opinion that those were the only opinions that mattered to me at that time. I didn't care about nobody thought but my kids. I didn't care what my parents thought because that wasn't relevant to me. My parents lived their life together. And they always, like I said from the beginning, they always pick each other. They
okay.
with each other. So my kids, I don't have a partner right now. And when I had a husband, I chose my husband as I should have. And now it's just me and them. So I chose them too. I had to breathe life back into my children. It was very a different phase for them. It brought out a lot of different things that needed nurturing, that needed care, that needed private conversations that is nobody's business, but life happened. And at that moment, I had to, growing to love me, I had to re-love them in a way that
Mm,
I never knew they even needed, but I had to give it to them. And I was okay with that. So
mm.
yeah, no, my world went dark and silent. And I think sometimes you need that. I didn't need whispers from other people because I didn't really care what they thought. So it was good that everybody kind of parted. And then I got my connection deeper with myself, deeper with God, deeper with my children. And that's all that mattered to me at the time.
I love that. Growth is always a powerful thing. So I appreciate the post lens breakdown as well in terms of what you were witnessing and what you were going through at that point in time as well. Okay, so that being said, obviously, were you married again after before the show? Before I get to the show, you weren't married again, were
No,
you?
no,
No,
I had a
I just want
boyfriend,
to make
not
sure it's
married.
something.
No, only been married
So
once.
okay, so then you get obviously Ready to Love comes. I want to know from your perspective what was your reasoning for going on to the show Ready to Love for you?
Um, Honestly, my I had just went through a breakup probably a year and a half prior to this, before the idea was even brought to me. My sister came to me. She had met one of the producers when she was out of town, and she called me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this show?" And I'm like, what show? I've done a show before, so this is not new to me. I was on Basketball Wives in LA. I've done that before, so it wasn't new to me. So I was like, what kind of show is it? She's like, it's a reality TV show about finding love. And I laughed and I was like what? Because I've never seen the show. So she told me, and I was like like are you dating for what? Like is there like a prize? Is it like Love Island? Like do you get money? Like what's going on? She's like, no, it's no money involved. You just, it's about strictly about love. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I was like, maybe. And I thought about it. And then I think she gave my number to production and they end up reaching out to me. And I did a little research on the show. I never watched, but I did research. And they kind of like just told from what they told me. And I was like, well, I'm open to it. I've tried a lot of other things. I was single at that moment. I had been in a relationship for probably 2 years. And it ended and it was pretty tough. But I had healed from that and I was okay. And I thought, why not? And I did it. And I have no regrets about doing it. not one. I actually had a great time.
I love that. Going on to then Ready to Love. Obviously, like I said, you haven't necessarily watched it, but then you kind of obviously once you get picked for it, you kind of see one or two episodes as well going into that particular space. Like you said, you just come off the back of a relationship as well. So you're in a better space. You're single and you're willing to see how this goes. I guess my
Right.
first question within the Ready to Love spectrum then is, you arrive, you're in the mixer. Um, who is your immediate attraction to, if anybody? Because sometimes people tell me they ain't got no attraction. So when you enter that mixer, who is the first person that you're physically attracted to in that
It
place?
was the first person I seen, which was Bella.
Mm, okay. Is that your usual type, below, or is he just someone who's physically attracted to you?
Um, far as physical, no, but I don't really have a physical type. If I think you look good, you look good. I don't really have a like a specific person like, oh yeah, I like this person. No. When I seen him, I was like, oh, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the man were gonna look like. I had no idea. So when I seen him, we kind of chatted. We were the first two people who to enter the mixer. And he seemed like a cool guy. Um, the more I talked to him, I did have more of an attraction to him, but
Mm,
instantly he seemed all right. He seemed nice looking. Um, I didn't know what to expect. So when I seen the rest of the guys, I was like, oh, okay. And he still was probably the only one at that moment that I was just like, oh, I can see something, but I don't know. I think me personally, I have to talk to people. So physically, I could be all over the place with how people look. None of my exes look alike. I don't have a
okay.
specific type per se. I guess other people would beg to differ. They'd be like, "Oh, you like athletes?" Well, I mean, whatever. But no, he was nice looking, so he seemed all right. The more I talked to other people, then we grew connections because I'm more of a do I vibe with you type of person versus what you look like. I really don't care.
Mm. So what was it about Bella that attracted you then? If you know what I mean? Because obviously, what was it? Was it a bald head? You know, what was it?
He held a good conversation. So I'm a conversationalist. So I'm like he held my attention because you can lose my attention easily. Like I'm like okay, you're boring me. I wasn't bored.
Mm,
So I was not bored. We talked and it wasn't just physical. He had a good conversation at that moment. So we chatted. I think more than I chatted with anybody probably at the mixer, and that's probably why maybe I got eliminated the first one. I didn't get eliminated, but I got sent to the second mixer, and that could have been why because I didn't talk as much to anybody else,
mm,
but I did kind of work the room. So you guys didn't see that, but I did work the room. But some of the conversations just didn't intrigue me as much. That's possible.
okay. So within that mixer, then was there anybody else? I know you said obviously it's kind of better at the beginning, but then was there anybody else that their conversation maybe held you or intrigued you at first?
No,
And
no.
then
No, the second mixer, yes, because it was more less people there. It was more intimate. So we had more conversations. It was like it was like speed dating on crack. Like nobody could get like a fair assessment of people when it's 26 people or 20. I don't know how many people in the room, and we don't know what's happening. It was like uneasy. It was not an easy thing to do. I mean, trying to talk to everybody and trying to get a vibe. You're not just gonna vibe with people when you just meet them. I'm not gonna vibe with the whole room. I don't think nobody did that. But I think when I went to the second mixer, there was more isolated conversations. There were less people, so it felt more natural. And that was just it.
okay, so second mixer, who tickled your fancy?
I
Who
liked everybody
particularly?
from the second mixer, honestly. I liked Cardi. All my connections were actually at the second mixer. Cardi was a
Yeah.
connection for me. Devon was a connection for me. Um, and oh my god, gosh, it didn't fail me. I lost Chris. I liked Chris, and those were three. It was five guys there. I liked it. Maybe three out of the five that were there I connected with. I liked. Chris was gone shortly after, so we didn't connect more, but I really liked Chris. Chris was very cool. But he got eliminated, I think, not too soon after that. So, but Devon
That
was
sounds very
there and Cardi,
confusing.
and I had connections with both. Devon, Cardi, and Bello were my top connections throughout the whole show.
Okay, let's get into this now. No, let's get into this. Let's talk about the connections that you built. First of all, let's talk about Devon.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you my premise, my thoughts. I want you to then to push back. Tell me what you thought from your perspective.
Okay.
I felt like I can't lie to you from my perspective. And I put it in my reviews. I felt like Devon was a pawn in the game between you and Bello. It was always Bello. It was never anybody else. And Devon was a part of the pawn. That was my
Yeah,
perspective.
that's not true though.
Tell me
Not
your
true at all.
perspective.
I got
Tell me
to
your
know
perspective.
every guy. And I never do what people think I'm a people always pinpoint me and say I'm gonna do something and they believe that I'm somebody that I'm really not. So me getting to know Devon, I really like Devon. Um
Mm,
Me and Devon spent lots of time talking to each other on the phone. Did our connection grow as strong as me and Bellows? No. But I did have a connection with Devon. I liked Devon a lot until I didn't. So that's part of
mm,
dating. You date people. That's we ain't in serious relationships with none of these people. Everybody's dating the same people. And then you, as you go out, you're like, oh, I like him. Oh, I like him a little bit more. Oh, I still like him too. It's dating. It was like dating on like crack, like speed dating. It was
mm,
crazy. But I did like Devon, so that's not true. I didn't just like Bello. But me and Bello did have a stronger connection, and that's the point of the show. Who do you have a stronger connection with? We did have a stronger connection, and the stronger connection, it it won. But we didn't win a prize. We still had to continue to. We didn't get exclusive. You know, when you picked each other, people think, oh, y'all picked each other, so now it is this. We did become that because he said that he wanted that. But after the show was filming, or when he picked you, he's like, oh, okay, I pick you, and I'm like, oh, okay, I pick you. That meant we continued to date, to continue outside of these cameras in real time, in real life. We date each other without the noise of everybody else, which we chose to do so. Then at some point he asked me, like, I want, like, what are we doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, I want to
mm,
be your, I think we should date exclusively. And that's what it was a big deal to me. Because you didn't have to do that. Like never had to happen. I think after filming, he asked me, and I was in Canada. He had me come to Canada, and he asked me, and I was just like, well, it's responsibilities with being a person's woman, and being somebody's man come with responsibilities. That's not something I take lightly. So are you ready for that? And he goes, yeah, I don't want you to. I said, so you want to be exclusive? And he said, yes. And I was like, wow. I said, let me think about it. And then he goes, what's to think about? You don't want to do it? And I said, well, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that, that means I wasn't dating anybody else at the time because I'm really busy. My time is very valuable to me. So I work, and like, I choose not to date multiple people. That was something I did in that essence because it was part of the show. That's not my regular life at all because I don't even have time to tend to 7 guys. I don't have time for that. I don't even, that's not even my thing. And I don't even, there's a lot of men that want to date me in real time. And I don't have time to do that. So like even now, like I'm single. And I'm not like people are like, oh, can I date you? Can I date? And I'm kind of like, if it's the right atmosphere, it's the right place, the right person, then it will happen. But I, yeah, no, my time is important. So
mm.
yeah, I like Devon. Devon was cool. Devon was had good conversation. But when I learned different, that he was saying the same thing he was saying to not just to me, but to other people verbatim, that's when it took a left for me.
Okay. So was it the fact that is the fact that he was saying verbatim the same words to you that you were saying to other women in that
Yeah, then I
essence,
was
right?
like, you full of shit. But it take time to figure out if somebody's full of shit. You don't know just from meeting person. And what people don't realize about the atmosphere of the whole show is that we only get 6 weeks to do this. So it's like we being put in hot water and we got to move fast. It's no time to like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. You don't have time. So you really like put your big girl pants on and you dive into the experience because this is what we signed up for. So it was no crying on my behalf. I have no problem with moving around the room and dating. We don't usually typically get to date people and see who else is dating them. We hear rumors or we might figure it out at some point, but it wasn't that hard for me to do so, but it was time consuming. And I'm real big on my time. but I signed up for it, so I'm a sport. I'm a good sport in that game. So
How
yeah.
important it was it? How important was it for Devon to meet your parents, or at least talk to your parents, or talk to one of your parents?
Devon?
Yeah.
It was, I mean, he would call me so much. My mother would always be around. My kids would be around. So he would see them on FaceTime. It wasn't a big deal to me. And I don't have little kids, so I'm not protecting it. I think it's so
That's fair.
different when
Yeah, yeah.
people say, like, oh, I didn't let you let him meet your kids. My kids are grown. And we are very close in age because I had them very young. So typically, if
Mm,
I meet a man outside, I'm probably 9 times out of 10 with my daughter. And she's already met him too. So it wasn't like, oh, people are like, oh, your kids get to meet him. And it's part of the show. And it's part of the experience. They ask your family to come around. So it wasn't
mm,
nothing like, oh, this is like not, I'm breaking the rules to do so. And I don't, when it comes to my children, um, I mean, my parents, first of all, he didn't meet them personally. Oh, he
that's
actually
fine.
did because I think my parents were here. My mother was here when they were filming the scene at my house, but they didn't show them on camera. They were in a room. So when people come in naturally, they just meet people who are around, right? So my family was here while they were filming at my house. So I think every man that was here met my mom. From Devon to Chris to Bella, my mom was here. But that's behind, we don't talk about that on the show, but that was happening. My daughter was here. Both of my daughters was, one of them lived with me, the other one doesn't, but they were all here when that day. So, I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but he didn't really ask to be my parents, I don't think, but he did meet my mom. He never met my dad though. He did meet my mom because my mom was here one day, the day that he
Mm,
came to the house. He was the first person I think to show up. So he met my mom that day. And then on FaceTime, like he would be FaceTiming me. He's a FaceTimer. So if I'm at my mom's house and I'm like, she's who you talking to? I'm like, oh, this Divine. Hey, so when I say, oh, they met, like it ain't that serious. It's not like, oh, we went on a date, we hung out with my parents, never none of that. So it was, I don't think he ever even asked, can he meet my parents? I think it just happened.
okay.
My mom,
So
rather.
so with Bello, did he meet your parents officially outside? I mean, outside the show, right? Because of course the show, we know that he met the parents,
No,
but outside the show,
he
did
met
he?
them over FaceTime. So if he's
Okay.
FaceTiming me, he never met them actually he did meet them. He one day he was at my house and he met them. Same. He met my mother the same way. That's the first time I think he ever seen my mama physically. He met them on FaceTime many times. Like he FaceTime. So that was a lot of our communication was FaceTime because he lives in Canada. He doesn't live in Detroit. He lives
Mm.
in Canada.
Was that important for you that he did get to speak to your parents then, in that regard?
No.
Mm,
No, it wasn't a big deal to me. Honestly, I'm always with my family, so it was a set down meeting for him to come do so. It just my life. Life happens and we are moving with life. So it was never like a big deal for me. But I mean, I don't know. I never asked him. I guess that's the
mm,
question for him, not me. I never asked
mm.
him.
Okay. Well, I mean, he did say on in our interview that when he did meet your parents, I think the part that he felt some type of way about, which ended up you guys not necessarily working out, was that because he felt like you didn't actually tell your dad about his faith accordingly. So I don't know if you want to address that because I think he did mention that, right? So what
I
was the
don't because
conversation you
it's
have with your?
pointless.
Okay.
I mean, it was a fast process. Like a lot of stuff didn't come out. I don't tell I didn't tell my parents that he had a kid. I didn't tell my parents a lot of stuff about him because we weren't getting married tomorrow. We were just dating. So you guys seen it as a show and y'all seeing more fast paced things happening because that's the cards that we were given. So um I don't know necessarily if you telling your parents everything about a person who you just start dating either, because I didn't know a lot about him. Honestly, I didn't know a lot about his background. I asked him just everything that I asked him. You guys seen it. I asked him like, do you want to have several wives? Do you want me to wear a hijab? I don't know anything about his religion because I'm not a Muslim. So if he wanted to date a Muslim woman, he knew from the time he joined the cast that there was no Muslim women here. Everyone was a Christian, big Christian on that. And some of them were saying, I'm not going to date him. I didn't know much about his faith at all. He really didn't talk about it. It was really on camera. He might have mentioned it a couple times. It wasn't something we were talking about. I'm like, he kept saying, I don't need my person to convert. I just want, if I have more children, I want to raise my children as Muslims when he already has a child that's not being raised as a Muslim. So I thought he talks about religion when it's convenient for him. He never talked about it. So why would I be having conversations with my parents about his religion when me and him never really talked about it at all? I think we talked about God more, my religion more than we ever talked about his, because he was always saying, I'm like, do you want a person to convert? Because I wasn't going to convert. And he said, no, that wouldn't be necessary for me. So those were all his hangups, not mine, because we did talk about it, but we weren't getting married tomorrow. We were just continuing to date, and as you date a person, you learn more about them. So if it's if it's aligned, then it may be aligned. I wasn't saying we couldn't beat the odds. I do know women who have married Muslim men and didn't become a Muslim. I do know of that. But there was no Muslim women on this show. So if that's what you were looking for, then you was in the wrong place. So it kind of detoured my thought process when he started saying all these things, is that you came in here for the wrong reasons. You weren't really looking for love. Maybe you were looking for some of the things that you end up saying to me. Like, I want to be an actor. I want to promote my business. I want to do this for my life. I want my cousins on this reality show and his life changed. Those are things, like, for me, that wasn't my state. And all the women on the show, most of them, all of Bello's connections had children, younger children. I don't have younger children. My children are grown. I don't have I think it was a misconception that my kids are in high school. My kids are all grown and well to do for themselves. I have one of my daughters a chef, one of my daughters a stay at home mom, one of not a mom to dogs. Not She doesn't have children. She has dogs, and there she's engaged, and her man takes care of her. And one of my kids is in medical school. I don't have small children, but I believe Ashante has children. Lauren has children. Those were his connections. They all have small kids, not me. So, and I don't believe Ashante wanted any more children. She actually stated that, like, she didn't want to have any more kids. I think Lauren said the same. I'm not really sure. I didn't really follow their story or their journey as much. But I do know that maybe this wasn't the right platform for you if these are the things that you wanted, because I was very clear about who I was from the very beginning. Like, you guys got to see that when we talked about children. We talked about me. I never said that I couldn't have children. I said that I had two miscarriages and I was afraid of loss. He was like, oh, like, so what's next? How do we move on? He was very always having the right thing to say, but I was telling him my truth. Like, oh, well, I would be interested in surrogate. I don't want to lose any more children. And miscarriage is not due to age. Miscarriage can be for a flutter of things. I know women who are 15 who have miscarriages, women who are 20 in perfect health, women who are 40 are thriving, having babies, over 40 having babies in the world. So if you want to just do statistically, I just said what I didn't want to do was experience another loss of a miscarriage, because I had two at 40. So I did not want to go through that. No, I didn't. But I said I was open to it because I very much can get pregnant. I never said that. So that was also something. I said all my truths in front of you guys, and he accepted them, and then came back and said, "Oh, I died. That's why we're not together." We weren't together because maybe the show didn't do what you wanted it to do for you. You got married to the person who you were already engaged to, and that's perfectly fine. But it wasn't
Mm.
fine to sit up here and lie about it. It wasn't fine to for me, it was a disservice to everybody, and a disservice to another man, because you took a spot from a man who should have been there, who was really looking for love. If you already have love, now you're just being greedy. Or do you want multiple wives? Like I asked, because Muslim, if I'm not mistaken, they can have multiple wives from certain tribes, correct? So maybe that is your life, and maybe you should have been more honest about that, or said that that's what you wanted, because maybe it's some women who would agree to that. I don't know, but I asked these questions and he gave answers that were totally opposite. When you already were here, another man could have been here who was ready to be loving, who was not engaged. Because I wouldn't have, if I was engaged to somebody while we were doing this process, I would get roasted. Like, why were you here? I couldn't live a life like that. But also, he was able to do so because he's not from this country. He is, and his wife is from another country as well. So how do you hold that accountable? I just wanted you to hold accountable. You wasted my time. And that's the only thing that I was upset about, was my time being wasted, because maybe I could have gave Cardi a harder shot, or Devon, or anybody, or another man should have been there who was single, because you were not. So for
Okay.
me, even if you were single, you really weren't, because you weren't ready to love. You were already in love with somebody else. And that was proof when you married her. 4 weeks
Mm.
after you broke it off with me. So it ain't like you found love. You already had that love. So I think that's awkward. And that was the awkward space. But as far as that, I didn't tell my parents all about him because it was not enough time. As time passes, you will start telling your family more things about this person. And that was that.
Mm.
It wasn't my journey because I didn't know much about his, honestly. I liked him, and that's part of the dating process. I don't go too deep when I first meet people because I'm like, things will come out eventually. And they did. It just wasn't long enough for you guys to see or for me to even catch up with it because it was actually happening while we were doing all this filming.
Mm. So him being Muslim, you being Christian, why did you proceed forward? Even though he may said that he may not necessarily be, let's say, strong on his faith per se, but he wants to raise his kids Muslim. How does that align with your faith, and why did you proceed forward?
Well, I didn't think that we were gonna have children. Honestly, I was dating him just like I was dating everybody else, so it wasn't that serious for us. You guys, it would be different if it was years of experience, years that we got to do this process. This is a 6 week process. I didn't eliminate him, or none of the girls did. All the girls were saying, I don't think I'm gonna do that." I never had a problem with his faith. His faith would be his faith, and mine would be mine. As we grow and move further along, then we get to see who people really are and see if that really works for us. And it didn't. And that's okay. But I'm never gonna be a woulda, shoulda, coulda girl. I'm not gonna do that. I'm grown. I stand on who I am. And the decision was not made if we were gonna be like getting married tomorrow, but he did ask me to be his girlfriend after filming. And it was something that I considered. And I told him, hey, it's cool, but this is kind of awkward for me, even this conversation, because it's like, if he wasn't supposed, why would they put a Muslim man on the show? Knowing no woman on that show is Muslim. Because it can happen. Love can capture your heart in any different kind of way. It wasn't my fault that they put him here. And I did like him. So his religion had nothing to do with me not liking him or not. Like I said, I didn't even know much about the religion. I know we both believe in God. I know that there's no Jesus for them in that relationship, but I didn't know anything further than that. So for me, I was learning as y'all were learning. So I wasn't writing anybody off. But if that's a real question, the question should be, why was he on the platform? I can't, I don't, people get
Listen,
married in different faiths and have different faiths. They do. So that does happen. I didn't know what the future held for us, but I did like him. So I'm never going to fade away that I did not like Bello. And I did have more of a connection because we weren't even talking about his religion. So what makes sense to me, what makes sense to y'all and what makes sense to me is two different things because we weren't talking about that. When he met my parents brought it up. They already knew. Like, to say that they didn't know that he was, they knew. Like, we talked about it, but they asked you to ask certain questions when you're doing it. Like, talk about the religion, talk about this. They give you it is production. You guys know that, right? Like, they asking people to ask certain questions and they film what they wanted. They had a whole conversation that wasn't even about that. That probably was the last thing they end up talking about, but that's the only thing that you guys got to see. So it was like a whole conversation of a plethora of things before that conversation even persisted about the religion. For so just to be completely honest, y'all got to see spits of it. They didn't put the whole hour and a half that we sat there, and they didn't film that. They showed you guys what they wanted you to see, and that was part of their conversation was about the religion, which, like I always said, I didn't turn him down due to his religion. I didn't know much about it to do so. I did like him, and that's just that.
mm, can I be honest? I'm gonna be honest anyway. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm kind of be honest. I'm gonna be honest anyway. Your answer was a deflection. Regardless of whether he was on a show, whether he's a con man, scammer, actor, all those things. My question was, why did you choose him knowing that he has a different faith? Now, I understand that we don't all know about Muslim, we don't know all about the faith, but you know enough to know that they don't have the same Jesus that we have. At that point, if you, like you said, because again, we're saying you're a Christian, he's a Muslim, you're two different worlds. He could be a con man. He may want you. He may like you. He may find you attractive. He may want all those different things, right? But the reality of the situation is he does not align with your faith. So that's
But
what I
this
was
wasn't
asking.
about the
Why
faith.
is it?
This was never about the faith. Like I said to you before, it wasn't a deflection for me. It was me answering the question because I never considered that to say I would never date him because of his faith. I never said that. That was never my stance. He told y'all, oh, at the end, our faiths didn't line up. But we knew that from the very beginning. So that was never like, that was a decision that I made and he made it. He made the decision as well. And if I had a problem with it, we would have never moved forward. I had no problem with what his religion was because to me, I was like, well, I knew that other people have dated Muslims and Christians and they got married. I don't know. And they still dated. It didn't stop us from dating, but it was very selective when he talked about his religion. So we weren't even talking about that. So for me, when he did bring it up, he brought it up when y'all seen it. And it'll be like, oh, okay. It had nothing. I would not, if he was a devil worshiper, that would have been a different story for me. I would have said, no, I can't deal with you. I can't do that. I never said that because he was a Muslim, I wouldn't date him. I mean, and I never said that. Like, if we grew to love each other, people change. I know a Jewish. My friend was a Christian and became Jewish because she wanted to marry a Jewish man. It happens. So just because people have different faith, don't mean they can't get married. I never said that if marriage came into play and I loved my husband enough, then I would consider changing my religion for my husband. But we never got that far. So for the conversation to say I'm deflecting is kind of weird for me. It, kind of offensive to me actually, because I never said that. I took him on with a clean slate. We never talked about religion a lot at all. When we would sit around and have conversations, it wouldn't be about religion. He was using his religion when it was convenient. That's what I'm telling you, because we would sit around, joke and laugh and have a great time, and we would never be talking about religion. So that is not something that just, I don't know people who just do that all day and sit and my dad is a pastor and I don't sit and talk about religion all day. That's not where we at when we're dating a person. So he told me what his values were. He said, hey, I am a Muslim. I would like, if I have more kids, I would like to raise them as that. And I said, oh, okay. What does your wife need to be? If you were dating a girl, should she have to be? He said, absolutely not. So, and that is pretty much how he moved. The woman he has a child with is not a Muslim. She's Catholic. So it had
That's
nothing.
also quite open.
We all are grown, but I'm not gonna get prosecuted because I dated a man with a clean slate. I did not judge him based off of his religion. Now, further down the line, if we would have went into problems about the religion, then that would have been a different thing. When you guys heard of the religion and me and him not being on the same page was the first time I heard it from him, which was on that reunion. He didn't give me that splee when he called me to break up with me. He was telling me that it was about children. And I was just like, I want to have kids and I don't see us being together. That was just a cop out to me. So the honest thing is not about the religion. And I'm not going to sit up here and have a continued conversation about religion when that was never even brought to my attention until afterwards. We never were sitting up having conversations about that. So to be fair with me, that never happened. So when my parents talked about it, that was like a smidget of the conversation. They talked for a long time before that conversation even came, but that's what you guys seen. And I was just like, I had already told my dad, like, well, you do know my dad actually many, many moons ago was used to read from the Quran and was Muslim as well. And he changed, converted over. And when he was in the army and he converted back to he was into Judas. I don't really know, but he wasn't Christian and he changed over. So that happens in religions. People can change. People go to prison and become Muslim. When they come home, they become a Muslim. So I don't know why I'm being prosecuted for that. Like, I decided to date a man who I liked. I didn't have a problem with his religion. I never said we had a breakup due to that. So for me, that wasn't my story. That may be his now, and that's perfectly fine. But that was never our story. We never sat around and talked about religious aspects. So it's not a cop out. It's just that wasn't reality for us. And when he made that a reality, I was like, that's cool. That's the choice. And everybody has a choice.
No, I
That
get
was a
you.
choice.
I definitely get you. By the way, I wasn't trying to condemn you or anything for making a choice. I'm asking because, again, you mentioned at the beginning of the live or beginning of the interview that you said God did X, Y, and Z for you. So when someone says that, I believe that they're speaking from a believer's perspective. So
I
from
am
a
a
believer's
believer. And
perspective,
I said God.
not
I
saying that.
said God. I'm a
I'm
believer,
not saying that.
100%. I'm a
I'm
believer.
not
My
saying that.
faith is not in question. I'm very much a believer. I just wasn't questioning Bello's faith. And like I said, we weren't having these conversations. It wasn't enough time to even dig into most of the things. So I guess it can seem a little bit surface, because it was surface. It was a lot of stuff we were not getting to see. It was a lot of people that we were dating. But we end up picking who we thought we had a better connection with. And that's just what we did.
So again, I'm not shooting you. I'm only just saying what you said, right? If you're a believer, right, which you said you're a believer, so cool. I'm saying I rock with you. As a believer, then the reason why I'm pushing as a question, asking about the religion thing for you, not for him. because he can say whatever he wants. If he wants to change and do something different, whatever, that's his business. But he's not sitting in front of me. You're sitting in front of me, so we're having a
And I
conversation.
told you how I felt. I don't have any
Yeah.
feelings different. I feel that way. I've always felt that way. I was never, we never dive deep into that. So it's like I would prefer we could just move on because I don't have any problem with his religion. I don't know much
I'm not
about
saying
it
you
to
have a problem
speak
with
about it. And I would like to move on from it just because I feel like this is getting awkward for me. Because I'm like, I'm not deflecting. I just don't, it was we had. So for him to speak on it now, we weren't talking about stuff like that at all.
okay. So within that situation, obviously you guys had, right, and then there were other connections and yourself, right? The situation you had with Lauren, it got a little bit tense, in the conversation you had with his brother, and obviously when she quote unquote gate crashed the date that you guys had with his brother. So I want to understand something. Give us a background in terms of what was going on between you and Lauren because it seemed very tense. And is there a story behind that before we got to that particular perspective?
No, there's no story behind me and Lauren. We met Lauren from the very beginning. She came into the ladies' lounge, and she said some things to us, and that was the duration. That was girls' girl. I really don't do girls. I'm a girl. I'm a guy's girl. And she set the stage of what she wanted it to be accordingly. And there was no issue. She said a lot of different things off stage. So it was all, like I said, it was off stage, off camera. So I ain't even got to repeat it. But everybody, we didn't come on this show for me and her just did not get along. It had nothing, we all were dating the same man. So it had nothing to do with who she was dating or what she was saying. It had everything to do with her actions of things that she was actually saying to the group of girls. And no, we just didn't vibe. She wasn't, I have no beef with her. There's no problem with her. Me and her just are not the same. And so that was the energy that y'all seen is because we had probably a ladies lounge the day, I think the same day, no, maybe the day before, and she had said a lot of things that she was not saying in front of them. And like I said prior, y'all seen a little bit of that, but not the whole thing. So she was saying stuff like, I don't have a connection with Bello. That's what she said in the lounge. And I don't like him, and said a whole much things further about him that all the ladies heard. And we sit in the ladies lounge for 12 hours together. And you guys see snippets of that at the time where we're annoyed, tired. They show you our faces being made because we just tired. But she said a lot of different things. So for me, if you gonna say something, stand on it. So don't say you don't like a person. Then when their brother asks you who's your biggest connection, you say it's Bello. It was annoying to me because that wasn't what she was saying a day before in front of all the girls. So that was the energy that it was, but there is no story behind it. I'd never seen her outside of that. I didn't have her phone number. We never talked, none of that. We and all the ladies on the show, like Ashley was just at my house last night. Me and Nicole are very cool. Me and Shannon are very close. We just didn't vibe with her, and that was that.
Okay, so no prior history. So that moment where obviously you guys are having a date with the brother, okay, it's a sharp kind of exchange between yourself and Lauren in that particular perspective. Then, and obviously because you've just said obviously in the lounge she said something completely different, right? So bring us into that world in terms of that conversation then, because it did seem a bit sharp, and obviously Lauren kind of caught that and kind of was going back and forth for you a little
Well,
bit,
she
not
said
too
that
heavy, but
what she said was that what made me speak was people have made quick decisions too early in this process. And I said,
mhm,
elaborate. Because and she says, I don't have to elaborate. Well, you said it, so elaborate. We only have 6 weeks. This is not a year process. So if those people were making quick, rash decisions about her and saying that she was their number one, because that's what she kept asking, am I your number one? Am I your number one? I have to be first. I've never asked any of those questions. You've never seen me on camera or behind the scenes. I can vouch for myself. I never did it on camera and I never did it behind the scenes and asked any of these men where I stood on their list. She did constantly. But if those people were saying that she was their number one, would she have felt like they were choosing too soon or they just wasn't choosing her? So to me, that's what it felt like to me. Like if they're choosing you because you were asking, am I number one? Like where do I fit? Where am I at? You're my top connection. Am I your top connection? I don't like to be second or third or whatever the case may be. When she said that, she says, but if you're asking, you want them to pick you. You want to be number one. So if they were saying that she was their number one pick, which she had said that they're making decisions too fast, because we don't have the honesty about this process is we don't have 7 months for this process. We don't even have 5. We are really on 6 weeks time. So if people like you right away, they just do. And that's not my problem. So if I was a top connection for multiple men, then and they were saying it out their mouth, I can't be the worst person in America because everybody seems to enjoy my company. And I wasn't coming on here for Lauren to enjoy my company. So it really didn't bother me. But Lauren had already told us how she felt, and that was cool. And we respected it. So when you said, oh, you're making rash decisions, baby, if they making rash decisions, if they rash decisions were made too early about you, would you have said that? Or did you say it
So,
because nobody was picking you as their top?
but wasn't the question directed to Bello? So shouldn't Bello answer that question? Because when he, I mean, when he did start to, he
I
started
mean,
stuttering.
I
So,
can't go back and forth with it. If I said what I said at the time because that's what I wanted to say. I felt like she was saying, addressing me, saying that he made a decision about liking me too early because there was nobody else to, who are we talking about? So I don't like to insinuate anything. And I'm from Detroit. So we're very upfront. So if I'm sitting here and you said, well, I would have said, if that's what I was saying out of my mouth, Lauren made it, Bello, if that's what I was going to say, I would have said it in a way of where I addressed it, Lauren, because I'm sitting here. Don't dismiss me, but talk about me because there's nobody else who he could make another decision about who. Because she was talking about me because I was his top connection. So I said, well, elaborate. And I don't know when elaborate became a bad thing for me to ask if you're talking to become a mean girl because I'm asking for clarity. You asking for it, and even if it was for him to answer the question, he wasn't saying nothing. So I wanted to talk at that point. Elaborate because I want to know. Let's be clear about what we're talking about. Because I wanted to say, and I think I did say it, but they didn't film it. So if he made a decision about you too early, because they didn't film that, because I said it and that wasn't show. If he made it, if this decision was to pick you, would you feel like he made rash decisions too early? It just wasn't you. So, and that's okay. But it wasn't. So therefore I said what I said, which was y'all didn't see anything else said at that motion, but elaborate. And if I get stuck for asking a question when she's throwing it out about me, because it's obviously about me. Who else were we
mm,
talking about? And he didn't answer the question. He didn't. He was sitting there and didn't answer. So I don't think it was really awkward silence for a long time. They kind of pieced it together for it to be better for you guys. It was really like he just sat there like, and he was
so
saying
when he
things like he didn't like her as well. So I was confused on why she was even there. To my
he said that
aspect,
there and then, he said he didn't like her there
yes.
and then. That was his
No, he
answer. He
was
didn't
telling me
like her.
off camera and everybody else exactly what he's saying right now. He hasn't changed his story. He was saying that
But
she's
on
not.
camera, he said that.
He was saying, no, I don't. I'm not vibing with her. She's pressuring me to like her, and I don't. And he was saying that not just to me, but he was saying it to the other people. And we like, well, I don't know at this point. I'm not gonna do anything just because we on TV. I'm gonna say how I really feel. Everybody else was doing it, so why not you? He never said anything. But
So
to
why didn't
me
you make him say it?
personally, I didn't
Why
make
did,
him say anything. I can't make him say nothing.
no, no,
I
I'm saying
said to me,
why didn't you? Because obviously, if he's saying things on camera and off camera that are two different things, right?
he
Why?
never said
That's
anything
what I
that
think,
in that moment. He never said nothing. He,
and that's an answer. So why didn't we pursue that even more? Because he's actually saying to you, if I say to you, do you like Devon? And you go, and you sit there for a time, I'm gonna take it as a normal human being that you don't really like
exactly.
Devon.
You
So you
asked me, do I
it's
like
like, no,
Devon? And I told you I did. You were like, I don't think you ever liked him. I'm like, that's not
precisely,
true. I
precisely.
said
So
it
I so
instantly.
exactly, because you can give us a precise answer because the answer is very true, right? But in this instance, he doesn't give an answer. So I'm wondering, what was a follow up from you? Because did that not set some doubts in the mind, etc.? Because he's not answering the question right there and then on camera, but it's talking the trash
He
behind the
talked.
scenes. So that
We did talk about it, and he said, I just didn't want to embarrass her or be mean on camera. He's like, I'm not feeling her. He's like, I don't care if my brother likes her because he told me like, oh, my brother didn't like you, and that was perfect. Everybody ain't gonna like me. Everybody's not. I'm not for everybody, and that's fine. If you, I ain't trying to go with your brother. I'm trying to go with you. I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but in relationships, I'm the only person on that platform who was actually married. So I know like everybody ain't in my ex-husband's family did not like me. I think it's the point. And his mama didn't like me, and that's okay too. And then she grew to like me. That's just life. Everybody's not gonna like your partner. But I'm not gonna be with my partner because everybody likes him. Do I like him? I need to like him. I need to feel safe in that space. And obviously she didn't feel safe in that space because she's asking these questions that I said, and then I said what I said. I have no confusion here. I had no problem with Lauren. I was just being assertive for myself. And if you didn't like it or somebody else didn't like it, that's perfectly fine. Because that wasn't my goal to be liked by everybody. I was just being myself. So everybody's not gonna like me, and that's perfectly fine. But he had no problem with it, and until he did, and said he never had a problem with it until he never had a problem with it. He never said he had a problem with who I was. He was making up excuses and reasons why who wasn't with me. But he can't be with two women at the same time. I mean, he can't marry both of us. He was already married, and so he had a different purpose, and that's okay. I didn't know any of that in the moment. I'm thinking that, hey, this is a show that I'm coming on here, and it's a fight for love, you know. Cause I'm not wasting my time. My time is precious to me, like seriously. And I feel like if nobody's valuing their time, I do, because I'm losing sleep, I'm losing money by being here. So this was a choice for me. So I took it serious, and I'm like, honestly, I feel bad for her. Like it looked crazy to me. Like you saying it to all of us women that you don't have these connections, but when you get in front of them, you saying something different. So I was confused because I don't do things for shits and giggles.
That's fair.
But I would like
That's
to,
fair.
if we could move on from that. I don't know, like I don't have an issue
Yeah.
from her, and I would just like I wish her well and the best. And it was a show, so we filmed, we came to get what we saw. It didn't work out, and that's okay too. I wish everybody who did the show the best and love and light and all of that. That's just who I am in general.
Okay.
But
I
no
understand.
issues.
I'll leave this. I'll leave the Lauren stuff behind. I know we got last few minutes, so I'll focus on obviously what happened post, obviously the show. So you and Bella obviously decided to date. Well, I shouldn't say that because that's assuming. But you guys decided to take things forward, right? In terms of you chose each other at the on the end of the show, and we get to see you guys on reunion, and things have dramatically changed. So from your perspective, what actually happened, and what actually happened? Let me just leave it open. I don't want to direct you down the line. What actually happened from your perspective?
Regarding which part? Like
Between
the
you and Bello,
breakup?
between the show and reunion, we
Bello
see a
had a
different.
girlfriend. He had a fiance the whole time. He had took my phone while we were filming, blocked his fiance from my phone, and then lied about it. I asked him who boss Bella is, and he told me he didn't know. That's who he's married to. 2 days later, after he tells me he doesn't know because energy is real, he received my energy was I don't fool with liars. If you lying to me for no reason, I'm not an investigator. I am a person who's like I let people be who they are, and then I like to see what you're gonna do. And I asked him some simple questions, and he lied about it. And then my energy changed it towards him. So he felt that, and he for the next 2 days or however long it took him, he came to me and told me the truth, which was his truth. It wasn't the real truth. He came to me and admitted to knowing her and said that she was his ex. And they used to be she was his ex-girlfriend, and he blocked her because he didn't want to make things awkward because she was stalking him, and he didn't want her to be on my page stalking me. And I said, why didn't you just say that? He said, because I didn't want to go too deep into it. And I said, okay. And at that point, we continued to date, and I left it alone. And then other things persisted to happen while we were dating. He had some health issues, went into the place, the hospital, the girl was there. Little things happen. And the lies start, that they start adding up, and I start paying attention to things that he was saying, and it was okay. Like, oh wow, this man's lying. But I'm not no person who, when you tell me a whole bunch of lies that I'm about to go and investigate, I know when somebody lying. I ain't got to like keep going further. So we started to have a little bit of distance due to that, but we were still seeing each other. And to address him saying all these dinners, extravagant dinners he was taking, that was not true. He took my kids out on one occasion because he wanted to meet my daughter who was home for college. And he took us all out to eat of maybe 3 days before Christmas Eve. And it was his choice. He was like, I want to take everybody out. Let's go get food. I want to meet your daughter. And I said, okay. He had already met Tyler because Tyler lives here. So he was in my home and he already met her. My other daughter, he'd been to her home before because we went to a Halloween party at her house. So he's met her, right? And that was that. He met my daughter. We went to a dinner, which was a steak restaurant that was close by to the house. The bill was like $400. That was it. He's never took anybody out 3 times a week at $600 a pop. That was all a lie as well. Never happened. He took me out before, just me. He's never took my kids out but one time. So that was a stretch. I'm not looking for, my kids are grown and they have a father. I'm not looking for a baby daddy. I'm not looking for a father to my grown children. I don't go to dinners with excessive dinners with somebody who is my man, my boyfriend, with my children. My kids have lives and they're not trying to hang out with me and Bello. So that was very false. He only took my kids out one time. So that was false too. Other than that, I don't know really what to say about him. That's what happened. He called me on Christmas Eve and broke it off. And I just feel like that was left field. Especially since a month prior, he had just asked me to be his girlfriend. Far as him doing any extravagant things for me, that was not true as well. But we ain't got to even get into all of that. Sometimes that's his truth. Whatever his truth is, I'm going to let him have it. And my truth is going to be mine. And my truth is not built on no lies because I never lied one time. I said on that reunion that he had a girlfriend. He told me I was a liar and he was actually married at the reunion. He could have came out at that moment and just been honest and said, hey, I rekindled with my ex-girlfriend. He could have cleared the air for himself to make it seem better. He said he continued to stand on a lie and tell me I was lying, that never happened. And it really did happen. Going back, we found out I never knew he was married until the show aired. And people from Toronto was sending me messages and pictures of him being married and saying that he ran off with people's money and all of that. And I actually screenshotted it and sent it to him. And like, hey, I'm just letting you know that these people saying this stuff about you. And that was that. I never knew that he was married. I didn't know at all until started filming and people started sending me receipts of him being married. I knew that he had a fiance the whole time. I knew that and I said that. And he said that was a lie. But how could it be a lie? The proof is there. And that's the timeline. He was married to the lady. I believe she just posted on her page. Cardi came with the receipts. They had a 1-year anniversary about 3 weeks ago. So he was already married. I also have that receipt. Cardi sent it to me. Sent it to us in a group chat. Like, here's the day because she posted that she loves her husband and she should. And he should love his wife out loud. And it shouldn't be a secret. It should not be a secret about the date they got married. It is no timeline accountability because he knows if people know the timeline, then they know that he's full of shit. So that's the timeline, and that's what happened. Other than that, I'm not mad at him or anything. I don't live in a space to be mad at Bello at all.
Okay. I'm aware that a time has gone, and I promised you an hour and a half. I want to ask. You don't have to accept it, and it'll be on me. An extra 15 minutes because I feel like we're almost there. There's a last bit. I wanted to be able to ask 1 or 2 questions. If it's gone past time, I respect it. I respect boundaries. I want to honor that. But I want to request for 15 more minutes just to be able to wrap this up officially because I think there's 1 or 2 questions we need to ask just so you can fill in. It's up to you.
It depends on what you asking me because this has been kind of left field for me. Just be honest. I'm just honest. I feel like I'm under this scrutiny light around here. This is not fun.
Oh, talk to me. Well, I'm always open for feedback. Why do you feel like it hasn't been fun for you? So we understand.
I feel like it's more like a therapy or an interrogation session. It don't feel like it feels like I don't need therapy behind the situation. I've already forgiven him. I'm not upset at anybody. I understand that it was a short period it was a show and it was you guys just seeing what we were living through, but you didn't see all of it. So I get it. But I feel like instead of it like being like fun and light, it's more heavy and like, I'm like, wait, I didn't know that it would be like this at all.
You're not lying. How you felt is exactly how it is. So I won't even hold you like this is how I press everybody. So I understand. I do understand where you come from.
10 more minutes.
If you're willing to,
go ahead with it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So obviously, when I did press Bello about the fact that he wasn't able to be openly truthful about some of the respects with the terms of the relationship. So he spoke about the relationship they had with your brother in terms of the business that the business loan. He said that obviously you guys were had spoken about it, and then obviously you introduced him to the brother, and the brother's meant to introduce him to someone else in terms of that risk situation. I want to get an understanding what actually
I
happened from that.
respectfully, I want to move on from that because
Mm.
if he don't want me to show what he actually sent as far as his financials, then we shouldn't talk about that at all. It didn't happen because it wasn't something that was going to happen. My brother was willing to give him a business loan, but he asked me respectfully. He kind of it's messed up, Dominique, over here. Do you want to proceed with this? And I said, give me some time. And the time reflected itself, and it did not happen. And I told my brother, absolutely not. And therefore we moved on from it, and my brother did not give him a loan. um
That's it.
that's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all
But
I know.
Bello knows that I have all his financial receipts, and I don't even gonna go there because he trusted me with those. So we just gonna move on right along. It was not a deal that happened due to it didn't work out, and I knew that it was some untruths being told to me, that he was basically a liar, and I didn't want to go and basically put my confidence in somebody who was not being truthful. So no.
On the
Anything
reunion, you
else?
said on the reunion you talked about the fact that he didn't financially necessarily contribute or necessarily finance, quote unquote, your life in a sense, right? In that essence as well.
He
In
did
this,
not.
in okay,
He did not. No. That was whatever. If a man is if a man is complaining about $600 dinner, my rent is $4,000. Bello did not give me $4,000. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the timeline, when will you start paying bills? Because the show stopped filming. You were not paying any bills during my filming situation. So that's not true. We stopped filming in November. You broke up with me in December. What bills were you paying? If y'all got anybody who watching got common sense, it don't even add up. And all the girls on the show who I talked to can vouch because I was having conversations with them. He was not, and I was not requiring him to do so. So that wasn't even something that I was requiring him to do. I knew his financial situation, and he was not in a financial space to even pay any of my bills. I take care of myself. I pay my own bills. And I told him it comes with responsibilities when you have a girlfriend, when you ask somebody to be your girlfriend. That's why I said what I said. Because yes, if now I'm assuming that you're my man, and I'm assuming that I'm your woman, then things will change, and you will have to step up onto the plate, because accept that responsibility lightly if I'm your woman. And anything that I can do, if anything that I'm requesting from someone, I can provide for myself, because I do that.
okay. Last
Um,
question. Last question.
okay.
Bello said that obviously, because of that comment you made on the reunion, he pressed you for an apology, which I think he said that you did in private, but wouldn't do it publicly in regards to the finance comment in that space. He wanted you to
All I
apologize
said that his
publicly.
finances was in
Mm.
despair, and I was not going to give an apology for that. No, I never gave him I apologized if his feelings was hurt, and I don't owe him an apology for what I did nothing to him. So I didn't go on his financial records. I didn't pull out any receipts of the things that he sent me, and he knows that I have his real business. I did not do that. So I did not expose. I said his and if I quote for quote, I watched it a million times just like everybody else. I said his life is in despair. I never talked on it. I said, I know about everything that you have. I said, your life is in despair. You cannot help me. You can't even help yourself. I'm not asking for that. So me asking a person who I know their financial status to pay my bills, that I got a lot, and I'm not looking for anybody to take care of me. I take care of myself just fine. I get up and go to work every day. I have a great life, and I ain't asking him for anything. I didn't ask him for anything, and I knew his financial status, and I was being patient with him. And I said, you know what? I got your back. There's a lot of money to be made, and he just didn't have a lot of it. And I knew that. Never thought that Bello had money. Never thought that. I had seen them records and knew already what his life was looking like. I knew. I was not demanding anything for him, and I told him I'll be patient. I like Bello. He was a cool guy. I don't like his delivery. I don't like a liar, because I'm not one. You
He lies.
you said many lies, and it was unnecessary because I wasn't even asking him for those things. Never out my mouth did I ask Bello to do anything for me, not one. So it was very it was actually very laughable when he was saying he paid my bill. Like, you paying bill? What bills are you paying, Bello? I think Bello gave me the whole time I knew him $600, and it was only because he went to dinner with my family, my brother, and the bill actually was like 4 or 5 thousand. Ashley was there. Ashley was at the dinner. She seen the bill. Shannon was also there. And they go, and Bello tried to give my brother, I think, $400 on the bill. And my brother said, oh, no, no, no. We don't do that around here. I got it. Give that to Dominique to pay a bill or something. That was the context of the conversation. The other ladies who were there heard that. And they had plenty of the ladies had been out with us. So in turn, he turns around 2 days later and he gave me $600. That's the only time he ever gave me any money, and I put that on my children. He was not paying bills. He gave me that money. And I said, thank you. And then he goes, yeah, it just took, I had to do this. And I said, well, it seems like you need this money more than I need it. And I offered to give it back. And he's like, no, he got offended by that. And I was just like, because I don't, if you're giving me anything, I don't need a speech behind it because I didn't ask you for it. But he felt like he wanted to be a provider. He wanted to do those things. He just didn't have it to do so. And several days he told me that. And I was like, what are you asking? We just dating, we just keeping it, we kicking it. Let's get to know. Like, baby, let's chill. But as far as me putting pressure on him to do anything for me, I never did that. He could do nothing for me. He had nothing to do for me. He just didn't have it. And that's the real truth. And I knew that. And I took a chance on him, and I was doing what I felt like something different. Like, I was giving a brother a chance, and he didn't have it. And now I, in return, have to hear all these made up stories where he could have just kept it real. And like, I had to get my life together. I was going through a tough time, and he really was. And I said that. I never talked about his business. I don't know anything about his business. I never put that on there. So we're not gonna put truths on. We're not gonna put, like, things on me that I never said. I said what I said, and I had every right to say it because he was lying to me from the get, and he didn't have to do so. But I'm very self-sufficient. I have my own businesses. I take care of myself. Loyal hosiery. If anybody on here is watching, that's one of my bread and butters. I take care of myself. I get up and go to work. I'm very independent in that way, and I don't need any of a man's money. You have to, but I'm never going to dumb it down again. So I learned
So
something
wait, he
from the
never gave you money for the
experience.
license? He never gave you
He
money for
what?
the license? He said he gave you money for
That's
the
not true.
license.
I do not have a real estate license, baby. That's
You
not
lying?
true. I do not ever go to real estate school. They asked me that on another interview. He never paid for any of that. That's not true at all. He told me that he was opening a brokerage company here, and he was trying to open one. And he said, "Do you want to do real estate? You should work for me. You're really good at your job." I said, "Well, I'm not really into it, but I'll look into it." Never went. He never gave me money to do it sound good. He never did that. It sounds great, actually, but he didn't do that. That was never a conversation that we had. Me starting a brokerage or going in any business with Bello. Bello, I did not want to go in business with him at all, and he never gave me money for a real estate license. Or I heard that the other day for the first time. No, he told me that he was coming down here to start a business, and I was like, interesting. That's not my thing. I never went to get my real estate license. I never attempted any of that. So that is very flabbergated. That's a bold-faced lie. That's a lie. Like, it sounds good. He said a lot of stuff that sound good, but it's just a lie. And I've learned that about him, and all the women who have DM'd me from his country has said that about him. He says a lot of things that might be, he talk a good talk, but most con artists do. They talk very, very well, but he did not con me out of anything. Um, if I'm a giving person, so he was in despair, and his business was, and I had a resolution for it because I know my brother is a businessman, and everybody knows that money talk and bullshit walk. He got it, and he ain't
So
playing.
why did you say that you messaged him? Why did you say that you messaged him? Like, he showed us a screenshot of you messaging him. Did he edit
Mention him about what?
I didn't even really read it properly, if I'm honest with you, at the
I
time.
mess only time I messaged Bello is when I sent him screenshots. I messaged him. I called him because I had got 7 messages from 3 different women who were from
Oh,
Canada, and I called him because I wanted to tell. I had just seen him. I never talked to Bello after shooting the show. Never. This is recent that the message happened. So I
oh.
seen Bello at Christina had a thing at Christina from the show had a thing, and Bello came, and we talked, and we were like, we're cool. Everything's cool. So the next day I get messages from these ladies. So I called Bello when I got off. It was maybe like 11 o'clock at night. I called, he didn't answer. And then I got a message from him that says, please don't call me during booty call hours. And I said, excuse me? And that's the message. That's the only time I text him. I said, Bello, first of all, you
He said
know
you're
I
calling
don't
him
like.
too.
I said, first of all, Bello, you know I don't like you like that. And respectfully, I was only calling you to inform you, and I sent the screenshots. It was very laughable that I'm even hearing. Like, I'm not texting Bello. We don't have any room to talk. And I
He
sent him
said you're calling as
screenshots.
well. He said you're calling as well. Is that
That's
true?
I did call. I just told you I called him and he didn't
That
answer.
one call.
It was one call. I called,
Oh,
he
okay.
didn't
Thought you was
answer.
calling.
He called me and he called me 2 days prior to that. And I was like, what's going on? And I have messages. So if he showed you a screenshot, you didn't read the message. This is what it was. And I said, what's going on? He says, oh, I just reached out to you. Are you going to the event, Ina's event? It was very much talk about the event. And I said, yes, I'm going to the event. He said, okay, I just wanted to know if you were coming. He never told me still at that point that he's married. He sent a message when I called. I had got 7 messages from these different ladies, and they're
Mm.
like, hey, Bello's a liar. He's a scammer. He ran off with my money. And then I can pull it up and show you right now if you want to share the screen. This is what he said. And I said, it's laughable. If you want to see, I can show you. And he said, I said, it's laughable that you think that I would even be trying to talk to you in this way. I was really just trying to give you a heads up that these people were contacting me. And he says, he knew the girl. He called her Salim or something like that. And he goes, she's a bitch and this and that and then she's just notorious or whatever. And I go, well, and I never even respond back. I said, this is why I was texting you. I sent him all the screenshots. I never was calling him or text. I don't want anything to do with it. Hello, I'm cool, but we don't have any issue. And that was just recently because we just seen each other. So that was maybe right after the show released it a couple weeks ago, and people were now seeing the show. These are also the people I mentioned earlier. I didn't know he was married until the show aired. These are the same people who were sending me DMs stating Bello was married, sending pictures of him at the wedding. He's a scam. Nobody in Toronto does business with him in Ontario or Toronto. Run. He did you a favor. I hope this doesn't work out. Blah 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 blah. And I sent him those messages. So that was the only time that I had messaged him. I
So
never
he
I,
lied
I don't
the whole
talk to
time.
Bello.
So he
So
lied the whole time. He just spun the whole story the whole time. It's crazy.
I swear I can show it. Like, can I show you? Share my screen.
You
I can
can
show
listen. Feel
you.
free because he showed it.
How
So
do
you can
I
show
come
it.
here,
Go for
Josh?
it.
How do I share the screen? Because I'm about to see this. How do I do that? Where is the share screen button? I am on my real estate. Can you guys see? I don't know how to share this. How you do it? Why would we want to do real estate? I Why would we want to do that? Boy,
Hold on, I'm about to pull it up.
how you share the screen? Go to his text message first before you share.
You can't do it because it ain't the FaceTime.
Oh, because it's not FaceTime.
I'm thinking that.
But I can't. I don't. It's not
Okay.
FaceTime, so it won't
Okay.
let me share the
Okay.
screen. But I have the whole message. I sent
Yeah.
it. I'm like, we gotta show you message. I would love to show you though, because that's not. There was no regards. I said that's laughable that you even think that I like you like that. That's crazy. I was just really reaching out to you to tell you what these ladies are saying about you, and it was screenshots of all the messages that I have been getting. And he goes, "Damn, that damn Celine or whatever her name was. She's a bitch. She's out to get me. Blah 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 blah. I send them to you to your DM. Actually, I'll
Yeah.
send
You
it
can.
to
You
you.
can. You can. You can do
Yeah,
DM.
let me
Oh
send it to
damn.
your DM. Hold on though. Let me just pull it up so I can send it. Showing everybody.
Damn.
Because that's crazy. He's showing AI. How do I find his King Bello? I think. But he just making up shit at this point.
Mm-mm.
Where is his name at? Bello. All right. Hold on. Screenshotting this. Hold on. Save it to my phone. And then
Mm-mm. Niggas be lying.
like a mug.
Mm-mm.
And these messages is real old, but hold on. In these interviews, you will have people saying this. So we need to send this out, these messages out beforehand. Okay. Not the real. Okay, wait, hold on. Now I can DM it to you.
Okay.
Hold on. Discard. How do I go to my DM? Then I gotta go to my messages.
Okay. Oh, I don't think we can hear you. I think because they. You just never know what's going on. People would just be lying to you. Mm, 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 mm. People telling you half truths. Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Down, down, down. Okay. So let me see. He sent to me. Yeah, I can see it now. Okay. I got it. Did you want me to show it, or you just want me to read it? Did you want me to read it?
You could just read it.
Okay, let's read it. Okay, nice. What you doing? Not much. Okay, just for. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then.
Last message I've ever talked to that man, and he didn't start messaging me until after we seen each other at Ina's thing. And that was that.
Why would you want to keep talking to me?
Why would I be?
Dump me on Christmas Eve. That don't even make sense. I ain't no thirsty.
And this is a year later. That's this December that just passed.
We tried it.
And we were at an event, and we seen each other at the event.
Okay. Yeah.
And you see what I said? Okay. I said, what? Like, I was just sending you these messages, and then he addressed that he knew who one of the girls was, and I never talked back to him after that. I was like,
so you feel like he lied the whole entire show and he just used you? Do you feel like that's what his end goal was in a sense?
I mean, I don't know. I can't really perceive what his angle is. I mean, it's if you want to make a analyzation about it, I don't know. He got married. It's over with. I can't overanalyze his mind because I have no idea what goes in his mind. But obviously, he's a little delulu. Even telling people that I'm contacting him when he's obviously the one who contacted me first. And I responded, and then I responded back. This was all after we seen each other at Ena's event. And then the people start sending me messages about him. And it's, as you read in that statement, the girl, he addressed it. He knew her, the crazy bitch, this. And I said, booty call out. I'm not interested in you. Like, you know that. That was weird to me. So I thought that it wasn't him who was texting that. I thought it was his wife. Because I'm like, Bello know that I'm not, I don't fool with him. And he know that. Like, I'm not trying to call him or anything. So that he had actually called me probably that same week that I seen him. And
wait. After you messaged him, he called you after?
No.
Oh,
before that, he tried. I blocked him after that. Because I was like, I'll never even contact you again. Because I didn't know if it was him texting me or his wife. Because I thought that message was just a little talking about booty call hours. I'm like, booty call? I ain't interested in you. Like, you know that. He had just called me. So I was like, huh? He had just called me like probably 2 days before that. He had hit my phone up and I'm like, what's up? I was at work. I didn't answer. And he's like, oh, what you doing? Whatever. I just thought of you, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. And we moved on. And so I was giving him a courtesy call once I seen all the DMs popping up in my DM to let him know what I had been seeing. And that's why I reached out and called. And then he responded with that. And I said, this is what I was trying to send you or give you a heads up that these people are saying these things about you. And he goes, I know them. She's a crazy bitch and all this other stuff. But then it was like 6 other people who sent me, but I never sent it to him because at that point I didn't want to have any more conversation because you just lying. Like, we're not having conversations about anything sexual. I wouldn't dare. I'm not interested, and we weren't even like that. So no, I don't know what kind of narrative he was trying to paint. But as you see the message, I said what I said. Like, oh, I was just giving you a heads up. But I think that's enough. It is what it is. You make your own assessment of what people be saying, because people can say anything that don't make it true. And I got plenty receipts. I mean, tons. And it would not paint the picture that he's painting. So that's kind of crazy. And I was very supportive in his, even in his like hard time, I was being supportive to him. And I said that even on the reunion, like I was being supportive to you, knowing that you didn't have it like that. I was like offering you some type of assistance that I felt like I could. So I think this is very left for me. And I don't really do stuff like this. So, you know, at the end of the day, he can figure it out. I'm sure, you know, there's plenty of money to be made in this world. He can get some. Money is not limited to nobody. So if he's got any hustle in him or any ambition, he can get some money. And I felt like that's it. As far as me diminishing who he is, I can't do that. That's who he is. But at the end of the day, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm worried about what my business is producing. So if anybody want to get some tights from me, shop with me, need me to be a stylist, I can promote that. I can't promote what he got going on because I don't know. Sound like an issue for his wife.
Okay, I think that's a good place to rest things. I guess the last thing I'll say is, what did you learn from this experience, and then we'll end it on there. What was it that you learned from this experience?
When people show you who they are, believe them. When you see red flags, don't ignore them. We're too old in this process of our lives to ignore the things. But we all do it. We all are guilty of ignoring things even when we know better. At the end of the day got a fucking end. So I wish everybody the best, and I'm gonna put my best foot forward every time. And at the end of the day, I'm cool. And I met some really good friends from the show that I love, actually. And I'm happy that I did it. I have no regrets. And when people show you who they are, believe them.
Well, listen, thank you very much, Dominique. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have a conversation with yourself. It was very enlightening, and I got a better perspective of where you're coming from and understanding of your story and who you are, right? So I appreciate you being able to come on here. It's never easy to come ask questions and et cetera, et cetera. So I appreciate that very, very much. Audience, thank you very much. We appreciate you for joining us for this wonderful conversation. And I've enjoyed this conversation, to be honest. So you know, maybe I'll come back and do some more interviews for people, but we'll see how it goes. But Dominique, thank you again. I appreciate you.
Sure.
And please be blessed from
You
here on
too.
out as well. All right.
Have a good night.
Audience, ta-ra, ta-ra. Good night.